Hey, I'm Stephanie Forian, and it's Tech Talk time.
Tech Talk, Tech Talk,
Time to talk tech. Welcome to my weekly web series on the techniques and technology behind the creative process. I've been getting a lot of questions recently about how I make my music videos, so I thought I would create a mini series in which I can share some of the things I've learned as I've experimented with video. In today's episode, we'll be talking about how to get started and cameras. If you've been following me for a while, then you already know that every time I talk about gear, I also emphasize the fact that it is so important to use what you have and work within your means. The quality of your work is based so much on how you use what you have, not necessarily what you have. I remember when I first started off making videos, I was using the ancient camera in my flip phone and the webcam on my laptop. The quality was atrocious and grainy, but I had fun making videos, so I just kept doing it. And as I did, I learned how to improvise, I learned how to optimize that very limited equipment, and it also taught me a lot about what features I might want in a camera when I had a chance to upgrade. So my first tip is to get started immediately using whatever it is you have. Maybe it's your smartphone, maybe it's your computer's webcam, or maybe you found an old camcorder or digital camera somewhere in the basement or in the attic. Whatever it is, just start using it. Take your camera with you into various environments and see what its boundaries are. For example, how much light does it need? How close to or how far away do you need to be from your subject to get a good quality shot? How does it deal with things like motion? Is your camera the type that always needs to be sitting on a solid surface in order to get a good shot? Or can you also make good quality video when you are holding it in your mildly shaky human hands? The more you experiment with your camera in different situations, the more you'll see what it can and cannot do. Once you've been working with your camera for a while, you'll probably notice that you've started to make a mental wish list of features that you'd like your next camera to have. Maybe things like higher resolution, exchangeable lenses, motion stabilization, audio input, HDMI output, or maybe some zoom functionalities. Whatever it is, make sure you write it down because you're not going to want to forget any of them when it comes time to purchase your new camera. Once you know what you want and you're ready to upgrade, there are so many different cameras out there on the market for various needs, and hopefully you've listed yours, and of course, various budgets. Because I get asked specifically what I use, I'll begin by talking about what I have, but I'm also going to discuss several common camera types that can also be very useful depending on what you want to do. I gradually updated my camera setup over the course of several years in a very long and drawn-out process until I ultimately ended up with what I use today, which is a DSLR camera. My particular model is the Canon 70D, and I very often use it in combination with a Canon EFS 24mm lens, and that's exactly what I'm filming with right now. Some people do use the Canon 70D for vlogging purposes when they're out and about, but I don't do that because it's heavy and it's kind of fragile. I like the results that I get with this, especially in the combination with that lens. I think that it's nice for my abilities and my purposes. However, the Canon 70D is far from perfect. It is heavy, it is fragile, and the day the warranty wore out was the day the camera broke, and I didn't drop it, I didn't bump it, nothing. All I did was turn it on and it stopped working. And the repairs are extremely expensive, like so expensive that you could actually buy another camera for that money. So take that for what it's worth. The advantage of DSLR cameras like mine is that they often offer features that you don't necessarily find in most point-and-shoot cameras, like powerful sensors, higher megapixel counts, interchangeable lenses, better low-light capability, and more control over things like shutter and focus speed and aperture. But point-and-shoot cameras, of course, have advantages of their own. They're often more affordable, smaller, lighter weight, and oftentimes easier for beginners to use simply because they don't have as many options. And many vloggers use these cameras for vlogging for precisely these reasons. And of course, then there is the category of action cameras. The GoPro is probably the most famous type of camera in this category. However, there are lots of different options from many different brands. These cameras are great because they are robust and extremely small. You can attach them to things like instruments, microphone stands, furniture, bike helmets, bicycles, and cars, making for some really interesting and unique angles and effects. Each type of camera has its own set of pros and cons, depending on your experience level, your needs, your budget constraints, and of course the look you're going for. Any one of these cameras could potentially be a good option. There is no right or wrong camera. If you're currently in the market for a new camera, here are some things to keep in mind. Number 1, buying used gear is a great way to save money and to also be kind to the environment. Plus, many online sellers and brick-and-mortar stores offer refurbished cameras with warranties. Number 2, when you're budgeting, keep in mind that you may need to purchase additional accessories in order to use your camera or to keep it safe. Things like a tripod, a camera case or camera bag, SD cards, or extra batteries. On their own, these individual items aren't necessarily that expensive. However, when you purchase them all at once, they can add a decent amount to the tab. And number 3, most people buying a new camera want to ensure that they get the best possible image quality, so they automatically assume that 4K is the way to go. And 4K looks great. However, 4K files are also a lot larger than HD files. And that means they not only take up more space on your hard drive, but they also take more time to transfer and more time to process. So you might want to weigh the pros and cons of those larger file sizes, especially if you're thinking of making a lot of videos. And that wraps things up for today. If you have any questions about what we talked about, then feel free to let me know in the comments. If you liked this video or thought it was interesting, then make sure you give it a thumbs up to let me know. And of course, it helps my channel grow. And as always, thank you so much for choosing to spend some of your time with me today. I hope you have a wonderful week and that I'll see you again soon for some more Tech Talk time.
Red,